This workshop, session 1A, is a leadership roundtable, facilitated discussion about effective leadership strategies. My name is Michael Yuge. I will be the host for this section. I'd like to introduce the panelists. First is Reverend Audrey Suga-Nakagawa, who is related to Nadine, who is now a celebrity. She's amazing. Audrey is the third head minister of Tenrikyo Lanai Church in Honolulu. She is also the advocacy director of AARP Hawaii and has 25 plus years in healthcare administration with a specialty in gerontology. Audrey has a master's degree in public health from UC Berkeley and a bachelor's degree in public affairs from USC. Darren Ito is a yoboku and plays an active role for the Tenrikyo Westside Church and comes from a lineage of head ministers and followers spanning many generations. Professionally, Darren has over 17 years of project management experience, managing multiple construction projects of diversity and complexity in mission-critical environments, ranging between $1 million and $120 million. A graduate from the Marshall School of Business at the University of Southern California, Darren has been involved in many leadership responsibilities for various companies. Darren was actually a former student of mine at Kyoko Gakuen High School in Tenri, Japan.
He was a good teacher.
Reverend Zen Yukimoto, our third panelist, is the head of the Happiness Fellowship and member of the board of directors at Tenrikyo Mission Headquarters in America. He also leads the Tenrikyo Future Path Advisory Committee and formerly served as the chairman of the Tenrikyo Young Men's Association and Tenrikyo Student Association in North America. In his professional role outside the church, Zen is a strategic account executive in the health insurance industry, managing employer clients. Zen also leads a great Tenrikyo Zoom discussion, which many of you might have been a part of, which addresses many of the modern-day issues and the teachings of Tenrikyo. Just some overall workshop goals. Will be sharing of leadership strategies from those in and out of our church organization, organizational tools to lead through change, and effectively delegating responsibilities to empower others. And first, we'd like to start with Reverend Audrey Suga-Nakagawa, Head Minister and Advocacy Director. Please welcome Reverend Audrey.
Thank you, everyone. Can you hear me? So I'm going to be the first of the panelists to lead today's workshop. And, it was really funny. After Representative Nakamura gave her keynote presentation, Zen and I looked at each other like, what the hell are we doing? Just tell everybody, just follow what Representative Nakamura doing. You got it, you're going to be a great leader. But she really set the bar really high for us today, so we hope we'll do a good job. But what I wanted to do today was just share some of the strategies and tips that I've used and learned over the many years of being in a management position. I know most of you or all of you probably have been in some capacity, whether it's at the workplace, whether it's in school, or in your personal family and community. You have to step up into the role of leadership, or you have observed others who have been a leader and taken the lead in certain projects or organizations. And, we all study each other. For many years, I keep learning. I'm a student of learning, trying to figure out, okay, how can I do this better? How do I see when I see a really effective leader, want to learn, how do they do that? And then when things don't go well, it's also a good time for me to reflect, okay, what are the lessons learned? Or that's not good leadership. And I got to make sure I don't follow that. I don't use that same strategies or tactics. So, it is a continuous growing process. And I just want to share with some of the things that I think has always been really essential. And I think a lot of this really ties into the Tenrikyo teachings. And I think that has always been the guidance. So let me go into the first one. So these are, you all know some of these traits. I mean, it's like making sure you're very clear about the goal and the objective of what you're trying to accomplish. I always feel setting the right tone is really important. Bringing enthusiasm, bringing positive energy, bringing in optimism attracts people to you. And it really, no matter how difficult the task that lies ahead of you, you need to have the right tone and the right attitude to make it successful. I always feel that one of the greatest strengths that I have as an individual is understanding my weakness. And knowing my weakness means I have to reach out to others who has that particular skill set that I don't have, that will complement what I'm trying to do and trying to get the organization to do so that we will be successful in achieving our goals. And so recognizing everybody has parts to play, everybody brings a skill to the table, really makes you a powerful leader as well as a powerful organization or team. Communications. We hear that all the time. Rev Zen Nakamura talks about the importance of listening, and that is very important, but it's also important to be articulate and be very clear with your messaging. So sometimes some leaders think, well, they should know, they should know this kind of stuff. They assume people understand, and that's not always true. So it's really important to make sure that the communication is very clear from the get-go. Repeat it sometimes. I can tend to be a little bit of a micromanager, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then finally, I think perseverance and humor. Things are going to get thrown at you all the time, and some things you control and some things you don't, but you have to persevere. And I think this is where the challenge is, maintaining that patience and diligence of trying to get to that goal, the end goal, and finding humor along the way, because sometimes it gets totally insane. So, these are just some basic tips that I always keep in mind when I have a really big task to follow. I want to share with you a case study. And so, a couple of years, as you know, we went through the pandemic. Hawaii was one of the most restricted states. Things were so shut down, and our schools really suffered a lot. Our kids really could not participate in team sports. All school club activities were just nil, and they were doing in-person learning. And slowly, it started to come easing up as people were getting vaccinated. One of the big projects that the school had was Project Grad. And for those of you who have children in high school, this is the event that happens right after the graduation ceremony. Parents organize this big event for their children so that they have a safe place to go to celebrate with friends that's drug-free, completely chaperoned. It typically is an all-night event right after the graduation ceremony, and they come back safely the next morning to the parents. Well, Project Grad was a big event for Honolulu High School, but we had several problems. The prior year, it was canceled. People were still very not sure what the rules were for the schools. The schools were trying to figure out, the state was trying to figure out what is permissible, what is not permissible. The students were all apprehensive, like, are we going to get canceled? Is this really going to happen, right? So there's a lot of anticipation and apprehensiveness. Of course, being that we were all online for so long, trying to reconnect with all the parents and all the students was also another big challenge. So those were some of the factors we were facing, as well as the COVID restrictions that kept changing. And so we were trying to figure out, how do we do this? There was a small core of parents, and one of the parents reached out to me and said, can you be my partner on this one? And we'll be co-team, co-chairs of this. And we had a small team, like maybe about 5 parents. And that was not going to be enough to pull off this big project. And so we turned around and we asked each person, you bring in one partner, one friend to come and join you, and we will divide the big project into small projects. then it becomes a lot more manageable. A lot of times people don't want to volunteer or don't want to become a leader of something because it sounds very intimidating. We all get that. We know that you're all busy. We know that you have a lot of other responsibilities. To balance all of that makes it really difficult. So when you break up big programs or big projects into smaller, manageable tasks, it becomes a lot more easier for people to say, okay, I'll do it, but I got to have a partner to help me. And that's what we did. And so, that was one of the things, getting the right volunteers and then trying to encourage our students to say, it's really going to happen. We want you to come. And then trying to make it affordable. And remember now, I don't know about the other states, but Hawaii took a big hit in our revenues. We went from a 2% unemployment to 9% unemployment. People were laid off, families were struggling. So financially, it was just so unaffordable for many families. So we needed to make sure we could find monies so that people could attend. So next year, the next one. So what we had to do, next slide, please. So this is some of the things that we did. We did the co-chairs. And what we did was we looked for somebody who was a social whiz. I do not know how to use those things. Instagram, lucky I know how to do Facebook. I just like everybody. I really don't. But there was a mom who was so good at it, and that she was our main communicator. And she was just tweeting things out, putting on Instagrams, building up the excitement. And she was so great at it. And that's all she did. And that's all I told her to do. And then we started saying, okay, which company is making money out of the pandemic? The plexiglass guys. They were making all those safeguards for the stores, the receptionists. They were so busy, and they were making so much money. Well, guess who we hit up for a donation? We hit them up. Turn around, no problem. They gave, what do you guys want? We'll give it to you. And they developed all the souvenirs for us, for all the students, so that we had over 200 of them. And then that started trickling in. We started asking, we created a template letter. People just asked one friend, and one friend led to another friend. Next thing you know, we raised enough money to buy every student a door prize at the end of the event. And we went to the Wet and Wild Park. So it was a water park, and that the whole venue was open to us at night. We had prizes like iPads, we had earbuds, we had membership to the gym. It was like over $1,000 prizes. And every student had a chance. But that's how much money we raised in that short time. And we were able to do it because this core group of people just kept persevering, and we kept saying, we can do this, we can do this. We are doing this for the kids. Let's figure this out. So no matter what got thrown at us, we kept doing it, and we got it to the end goal. So, at the end, what worked is that the lessons learned. This is the lessons learned. When it's a big project, seek a partner. So have someone compliment you if you can. In the workplace, you may become the director, so be it. But you make sure you are surrounded with really good people who can help complement the work that you do, finding the right fit, and then sharing the engagement and celebrating the success. It's really important to have gratitude and show appreciation. You share the success with everyone, make everyone look good. And then knowing that they had fun and being successful makes them want to come back again. So you apply that in the work of our church. When we have a Hinokushin project, a community project, some kind of a big event, make it fun. Engage everyone. Everyone has a small part they can play. Make it easy for them to participate. And you will get them engaged and hooked and be ready to help you again. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you. These were just some strategies that tend to work. I apply it to many phases of my life, whether it's in the work, it's in the church, or it's in the personal places like schools. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, we would like to have Darren Ito, Yoboku Oyasato Seminar Alumni and Project Manager, speak. Please welcome Darren Ito.
Is anybody cold in here? I'm a little cold, but So I'm Darren Ito. I'm a member of the Westside Church, where my father, Reverend Suga Ito, is the head minister. I'm a project manager in construction, 17 plus years, where my main focus was mostly mission-critical facilities, which included data centers, hospitals, pharmaceuticals, and banks. I always tell people being a project manager is 20% managing the project and 80% managing people. I used to have a consulting business where I represented owners and guided them through their construction projects from conception to completion. I've led various teams and groups on many multi-million-dollar projects, and there's never been a dull moment ever. I've also been very fortunate to have experienced great leadership from my parents, my wrestling and jiu-jitsu senseis, my work executives, and also Oyasama, our divine model. Because of the skills I continue to learn and implementing many of the Tenrikyo teachings in my daily life, I feel like I'm becoming and growing into an effective and better leader. In addition to leading various teams, I feel it is also my responsibility as a leader to invest my time and energy to learn and help grow team members so they can reach their full potential. In my opinion, being an effective leader isn't telling others what to do or micromanaging them, but rather providing them with the tools and guidance to empower them to perform their best. Part of my job is to manage many different groups of teams, from shareholders, the design team, general contractors and their subcontractors, city agencies, and end users. It's a lot of different personalities to have to manage and navigate through. So I feel it's also my responsibility to recognize team members' strengths and weaknesses and create a balance so that we can all reach our shared goals. Although there are many different styles of leadership, which I do use some of the credibility and approachability methods, my preferred leadership style is through aspirations. This is a style that provides clear visions and goals coupled with high expectations so that my team can perform to their fullest potential. They know that the other team members are doing the same, thus we're creating an efficient and high-level team. I always say that I don't have to be the best on the team, I just want to be one of the best. Meaning I want to be surrounded by high-level team members so that we can push each other to be our best. Next slide. Many people think leaders are born to lead, however, leaders are actually made. I believe effective leaders develop key skills that help motivate and empower others to follow them and work towards a shared goal. They have developed certain qualities and skills that they are able to bring out the best performance of others. Some of the critical qualities of an effective leader are emotional intelligence. This is recognizing and managing their own emotions and others' emotions. And social awareness, which is the ability to recognize strengths, weaknesses, and emotions within themselves and in others. Some also call this ability to exhibit empathy. Effective communication, providing transparency, clarity, and adaptability to different situations and audiences. And then relationship management, managing relationships through influencing, guiding, mentoring, and conflict resolution. I had a project for one of the largest naval medical hospitals in the Pacific, where we had to complete many different projects with 5 different general contractors and groups, and we all had to work in the same sensitive areas in the hospital together, such as the ICU, the NICU, the operating rooms. It was a very tight schedule. Let's just say there was many egos involved. Although it was very difficult in the beginning, by implementing many of the qualities of an effective leader, we were able to come together, complete it on budget, on time, and everybody walked away happy, making a little bit of money. So, whether it's in business, relationships, or in life, things hardly ever go as intended. I've never had one construction project ever go as planned or as originally scheduled. But this is where effective leaders are able to be flexible and resilient under pressure. They have the skills of self-management, which is being able to regulate their emotions during situations of high stress, and also possessing great problem-solving skills. The ability to think critically and adjusting to changing situations has helped me through many stressful scenarios, especially in business and even life situations. You can only control what you can control. Next slide, please. I believe the Tenrikyo teaching has been a big part of helping me also understand how to become an effective leader. I've always applied the teachings to my daily life, and it's helped me greatly with not only my spiritual growth, but also my growth at leading effectively. If you think about the teachings, such as we were created to live the joyous life, helping others, sweeping away the mental dust, that we are all brothers and sisters, and having gratitude, these are all the same qualities that effective leaders possess. Now, of course, there will always be challenges. One of the biggest challenges I see within the Tenrikyo Faith is how to continue to guide and grow the leaders we have now, and how do we develop future leaders, especially in these ever-changing times. I believe that the future is hopeful, and that these challenges are just little knots from which buds will sprout. See what I did there? I am hopeful because we are at another crossroad in time, especially between generations of old and new, where the previous generation can still provide guidance and knowledge, and the youthful generation can provide new and innovative ways of thinking. If we continue to find the balance of self and social awareness, communicate effectively, apply resilience, and manage our relationships, I believe the strength in that bond will help and continue to grow the growth of our future leaders of this path. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'd like to hear from Reverend Zen Yukimoto, Fellowship Head, member of the Board of Directors, and Strategic Account Executive. Please welcome Reverend Zen.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining our session today. So I'm going to start with the first slide, in which I'm trying to define specifically a definition of a leader through actions. It's maybe a little bit small, so I'm going to read it out for you. First, a leader creates a vision of what could be, listens to people to connect and build ideas, and listens and learns from experience for good decision-making into the future, and then leads by example to set the direction for other people. Establishes consensus amongst differing opinions, which I have to note, within the Tenrikyo groups, this is probably one of the biggest challenges, is building consensus. And then makes others better along the way. Generally, we see these common actions of a leader. A leader has the ability to provide a vision of the future. And this is a vision of what can become and how do we get there. A leader is fully aware of those around him or her, and they accomplish this by listening to people. Through this process, a leader becomes aware of the strengths, weaknesses, challenges, and opportunities that they face. So through this process, the leader learns from experiences and applies these experiences to achieve a specific result. A true leader does not promote a do as I say and not as I do approach. And we see a lot of those people, right, that they expect people to follow even though they're not doing what they say. They lead by example. So they lead by their daily actions. A leader must be able to rally and bring people together for a common cause. The leader melts away people's differences, and they also overcome obstacles in order to move forward. Through all of these efforts, a leader brings out the best in people. They are able to combine the diverse strengths of people to take progressive steps toward common goals. Through this journey, there's a sense of belonging, accomplishment, and success for all involved. So Orrin Woodward summarizes this as follows. Average leaders raise the bar on themselves. Good leaders raise the bar for others. Great leaders inspire others to raise their own bar. Okay? In order to accomplish these actions, a leader must have certain qualities that sparks the fire for success. And this is the gathering for the SoulFire, is to spark people, right? We need to make change. So we're going to, next slide. The following are qualities of a leader. Belief and passion for the cause, perseveres to overcome all challenges, tireless effort to keep moving forward, influencer of others toward a common direction, and then naturally raises people to a higher level. Leadership also requires belief and passion. Belief and passion keeps the cause top of mind despite everything else that is taking place. Belief and passion creates perseverance and effort. These attributes overcomes all obstacles. They keep the leader constantly moving forward despite any of the challenges that they face. These qualities of belief, passion, and perseverance and effort motivate other people. People begin to have a natural propensity to emulate the leaders that they admire and in turn become leaders in their own way. This process naturally raises people to a higher level of performance. A person cannot be a leader if they do not create future leaders that carry on the vision and passion. Through this process, future leaders are created to carry on that vision. Albert Einstein summarizes how the qualities of a leader is passed on to others. Leading by example is not the main means of influencing others. It is the only means, right? So it's important for us to lead by example, and that's who we follow. Oyasama also showed us the perfect example of leadership. This is the reason that we all have gathered here at the SoulFire conference. Okay, next slide. So Oyasama created a vision of the joyous life. Oyasama nurtured people around her with care. Oyasama provided us the divine model as an example to live life. And then Oyasama developed a strong group of disciples that created our organization of today. Oyasama left us the model for a happy and satisfied life. Oyasama also left us words, writings, and actions that form a guide for us to become leaders in creating a joyous life for all. This does not mean that Tenrikyo leaders must be a church head minister, fellowship leader, association leader, or committee leader. This leadership can be as basic as sharing the joy of life with your family, your friends, and those in the community. In the ideal state, this in turn causes your family, your friends, acquaintances to share this joy with others. In order to initiate this, we only need to believe that we are capable to become leaders, to accomplish this, and put in the work to make it happen. So in the Osashizu, it is written as follows about the impact of a leader and the potential of leadership. This one person is a leader. If the leader goes astray, everyone else will also go astray. If the leader serves in joy each day without going astray, truth will prevail. For many of us, the responsibility and expectation of leadership can be daunting and overwhelming. For this reason, people choose to be followers rather than leaders. However, leadership can be applied in daily activities and involve the people that we see every day. We all have the potential to be leaders in our own way. This can be at home, school, or at work. As a result, each of us has the potential to become great leaders in life. Next slide. So leadership in life has a few simple steps. Have faith that we can lead others. Share our joy for life with others. Encourage others to see their limitless potential to create joy, and then believe that God will make everything else happen. So from a spiritual perspective, the greatest accomplishment that we can achieve in a lifetime is ensuring that those around us are on the road toward the joyous life. This is not an easy task. This is very difficult. But we will have success at various times in our lives and have struggles at various times. Our faith and the teachings carry us through. Although we may have comfort in our faith to manage our own lives, we must have confidence that we can help others achieve this as well. We have a belief that we can make lives better for those around us through the teachings. And when we have this confidence, we will naturally share our joy for life with those around us, especially to those closest to us, including our spouse and our children. Although we all hope that our next generation, including our children, has a better life than our current generation, we do not fully control this process, though. We think that we can control this process by providing financial support, perform acts of kindness that make life easier for them. However, this generally does not help them with addressing the true challenges in life. The true challenges in life can only be addressed by the teachings, including the attitude of gratitude, accepting our causality, and sharing the joy of life with others. So we may try our best to share teachings with others, but in the end, we must have faith in God. We rely on God to make the positive things happen. However, this entire process starts with each of our leadership. Through your leadership in life, we will eventually achieve our predetermined destiny for the joyous life. So before I close, I'm going to go off cycle here. But fortunately, the bishop left, and I'm part of the Future Path Committee, and we've been very concerned about the decline in church participation overall. And in our group, we've been planning, what do we need to do differently? And part of it is exemplified by Representative Nadine's talk. Is basically each of us can impact people very positively with the simple things that we do in life, but really it's our attitude. It's how we respect people, it's how we treat people, and then everything we do, people have to feel that value. That's one of the key things that we're trying to promote, and not just going through a process. Each of us needs to think very deeply in terms of how are we creating value for each person in each program, each activity, each interaction that we have. And through that process, that joy will carry through. It will pass. And that's what we want as part of this SoulFire conference, is to have each of you have that spark that carries on to the next person. And then hopefully we have a wildfire, right? That's what we ultimately want, because we have all been brought together by these joyous teachings. They're joyous. But for a lot of us, it's been a struggle. And it's because we really don't try to reflect that positivity that Oyasama is trying to share with all of us. So, with this, I'm going to end with one last quote. Mahatma Gandhi succinctly summarizes how this entire process begins. Be the change that you want to see. Right? Very deep, very short. So, I'm going to end my talk there. Thank you very much.
Next, we'd like to move to the next portion of this session. We will start with a team building exercise, which is called Telephone Charade.
We're going to break you up into 3 groups. This game specifically is about leading by example. It's about communicating. It's about learning and listening and observing.
Okay, so we're going to the last segment of our workshop. And so now we're open to any questions. Do you have any questions for any of the speakers today, or things from the exercise that you'd like to ask?
I think it's really interesting. One of you said that no one's actually a natural leader, and that you learn leadership. Yes. But also there's an expression about he's or she's a born leader. So is that just a talent, do you think, that people have, or their personality?
This is basically just my belief or my opinion, but I believe there is a certain portion where you do have a talent for it, and that talent is more, in my opinion, based on your which is a little bit with the Tenrikyo teachings of helping others. You know, you have that inside of you of wanting of understanding that you guys are all everyone's brothers and sisters, that we're all here to live a joyous life, that we're all supposed to be taking care of each other. And I think having that in as your baseline when you're born with that just helps develop you into a leader. It's similar to a sports athlete. They can be talented, but they do have to practice and develop those skills to become great. So, yeah, that was kind of my point on that. Yeah.
I have a more general question for anybody. Would you say any 3 of you found yourself in a situation where you were seeking out leadership, there was a void, and that you needed to fill the role, or was it like more external factors, someone like appointed you to take leadership?
I've been in both situations where no one wanted to do it and somebody had to do it, and so I stepped up for it. And also there's a situation where I got appointed, right? Whether it's a job or appointed by the bishop saying, okay, you got to be the BGA chairman. Oh my God, right? So it's been both. And each time it's okay. It turns out to be okay. It sounds a little daunting sometimes, depending on what the responsibility is. But, you're going in with a positive mind, thinking, okay, I can do this, but I'm going to need help, That makes the job a lot easier in getting the support.
So in my experience with Tenrikyo, I think early on I was more or less asked to take up certain roles. So for example, when I was appointed the president of TSA, I was probably the youngest person in TSA at that time. I think I was maybe in 10th grade. But the older people wanted me to become president because they didn't want to become president. And so by peer pressure, you become president, right? And then I think, from a standpoint, it's more or less trying to do the best job you can. I think that carries forward. And I've done that role for Seininkai was the same thing for Young Men's Association. I wasn't looking to be it, and I was on the younger end, but I became it. I think now I'm at a point where I'm selective in terms of what I choose to be a leader of and what I don't choose to be a leader of. And a lot of that is more geared towards self-preservation because I just don't have the time. And then secondly, it's more or less what I believe needs to occur. I think that grows over time, that maturity of what you think needs to happen in order for it to continue. And I think for me, it's that progression of life. You're kind of running out of time. And so you feel the pressure that you need to create change, or else what did you do for the prior life, prior period, right? So I think it evolves over time.
What do you think is the pros and cons when you express a leadership brought by a foreign idea? For example, Tenrikyo was an origin founded in Japan, where Oyasama, who was a housewife who heard the parental voice of God, under a rather strict government management to Shintoism, is what I think. And when you want to, let's say, practice a idea that was brought from Japan to the American people, to share that by expressing or showing by activities, what do you think is the pros and cons when it comes to that?
So I think from a standpoint, I think the common challenges that we have at Tenrikyo are there are rituals that are culturally based, but then there are also values within the teachings that are universal. And I think part of the challenge is to separate between the two, but to a certain degree, it's not necessarily black or white because Oyasama taught it that way. So sometimes we have to find meaning of why we do certain things, right? The way Oyasama taught. And I think one of the more controversial, and it may not be controversial for you, but I think it is a challenge for us, is the service. The service is very traditional in terms of the instruments used, in terms of the language, and in terms of the aspects of it. But when you start thinking about why and how we practice, then it really doesn't become a ritual because, one, we're trying to do something together. Two, we're trying to be working with each other in terms of, Hyoshigi beats the opposite of the symbols, for example. So we're trying to be in unison. And at the same time, we're trying to create a positivity and joyousness. And ultimately, that kind of diminishes the ritual aspects. So we get too hung up on the ritual aspects. but we should be focusing in on why we do it. Because realistically, we see that people that are impatient with others, when they're performing the service, you could tell they're impatient because they're going faster. They're looking at other people saying, why didn't you hit it this time, or this, you're too late. But it's reflective. And I think that's what we need to go back to, is look at the basic things of why we do it rather than the process of what we do. So ultimately, for us, we just have to think. Each of us, again, has to think what is valuable for us moving forward. And then collectively, we just need to apply it. That's where I talk about it's so difficult for us to be unified in the way we view things. That's the biggest challenge.
Under leadership, in an ideal situation, things will always go the way it should go. But, in a leadership position, there are times where things don't go well or things go awry. And so I'm curious, what are good, things that a good leader would do to do things like damage control or, mitigating when things go bad.
Things never go right. Number one, you got to just Murphy's Law. It's going to be there. I think the thing that saves us or keeps our sanity is that how to look at it, and this is where the Tenrikyo teaching comes in, how to look at it in such a way that it is potentially a big problem, but how do you turn this around and try to attack it so that it becomes a positive? There is a positive. There's always a solution somehow. It tends to work out. And sometimes you make a little bit of a concession. It could have been worse. So is this okay? And can we do it? And this is where it helps to have sometimes brainstorming and thinking it through with other people who are bringing in their level of expertise, their perspective of the problem, and trying to mitigate that problem, right? So it is a real positivity type of attitude of a Tenrikyo teaching that a potential problem could be maybe not so potential if you try to look at a solution to fixing it or making it where it works out, right? So it really is sort of like a damage control. And what do we do, and how do you learn from this, and how do we make sure it doesn't happen again, basically, is what it is.
Being in the construction business, as Audrey said, nothing ever goes right. So part of being a project manager for me is one, my attitude of being positive, of being and always being solution oriented. We can always place blame and do all the other stuff later, do lessons learned and everything else. But my main goal is always to be solution oriented. So because I know that things are never going to work out the way we planned, we always have contingency plans, being able to be modular and shift things around schedule wise, and what if this happens and what's our backup. So I have that as a backup. But I think the bigger part of it is just being solution oriented, so that, okay, things are not going to work out the way it is. You can only control what you can control. How do we move forward from here? And then just start chopping it down as a team, start chopping it down and figuring out what the solution is. So, yeah.
In certain leadership positions, especially when you're dealing with like abrasive people, maybe like people with like egos, I found it very, difficult to balance out like caring towards the people on my team versus like being abrasive back to sort of like, keep everything under control. And I don't know if you guys have any shared experience or like maybe some advice about that kind of stuff.
Well, I think one, it's depending on who you're having that emotional intelligence, figuring out who your audience is, who you're talking to. I know when I'm with shareholders or with owners, there's a certain way that I have to present myself, no matter how ridiculous that they're acting. But then on the other side, there's also general contractors that I deal with that are a little bit more rugged, and so there's another persona that I have to take a look at and figure out how to communicate with each individual. The thing that I've been practicing lately is I'm really not a patient person. I've been reading a lot of Marcus Aurelius. So those of you who may not know, he was an emperor or a leader, and he always started the day with knowing that you're going to run into people that are going to upset you, that people are going to be greedy, that there's going to be people that are not to your liking, right? And instead of being mad about that or being mad at them, to just change your perspective a little bit about, okay, this is an opportunity for me to practice patience. This is an opportunity for me to practice kindness, right? And so I just kind of started changing some of my perspective on taking the emotion out of it and saying, okay, this person's upsetting me or, just not acting properly. What can I do for my own self that I can control, right? And so that's kind of how I've been looking at things a lot more. And it seems to have been helping out a lot because once I took that emotion out of it, of that person being difficult or not being, and I deal with a lot of difficult people, a lot. And so I think with that type of mindset and perspective, I think it's been helping me out a lot to really focus on the issue. So.
And I have to agree with Darren. It is really taking the emotion out of it. You can't control them, but you can control how you react to them. And that's what you have to work on. I had a friend once who used to tell me, I just kill them with kindness. She said, that's it, man. And I thought about that, and I was like, she might be right, She says, hey, because at the end of the day, it becomes about your professional integrity and who you are. And do you want to play that game? No. But how do you maintain your professionalism and control? Because you want to get the end results. And so she said, I remember she told me that, I killed them with kindness. And you know what? It tends to work. Maybe, but not all situation. But it is about trying to figure out how you're going to react to that and what can you control of yourself and not fall into let them bait you on that. So that's about one of the best ways to do it, I think. Yeah. And then pray for them later.
I'm sorry. I know that we have more questions, but with that, we have run out of time to express our appreciation for our panelists today for a wonderful workshop. Thank you very much.